Hi, and welcome back to my channel. This video is something really special to me because I knew when I started my channel, whenever this happened, that I was going to want to make this video, and I thought it would be so much fun to make because it's one of my favorite genres. But for those who do not know, I got engaged. And I'm honestly on cloud nine still. It happened second weekend of October, and I did not know that it was coming. I had an idea, like I knew my boyfriend and I, or my fiance now, had been together for a while, but I didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. And so it was just such a special moment for me. And each time I look down at my finger, I freak out a little bit more. He did it in the most romantic, perfect way that I could have ever imagined. And so for this week's episode, I am going to do my top 10 marriage of convenience books. Honestly, I'm so excited to do this because, like I said, marriage of convenience books are some of my favorite tropes to get into. Romance is 99% of what I read almost always, and marriage of convenience is just so good, especially because I read dark romance typically. So, marriage of convenience along with dark romance just goes together so well for me. When I first started making this list, I was going to do it in order from least to greatest, but honestly, I read so many marriage of convenient books. So, like, to even end up in my top 10 is something that I think qualifies it as a great book if you like the same type of books that I do. I know that marriage of convenience is not for everybody, but I'm not gonna lie, the more and more I started writing down books, the worse order it got. And I was like, no, I like this book more than this one and stuff. So it was kind of hard. I will say that almost every single one of these books is a 4+ star read for me. So I think that they're all great. I will say that none of them are in a specific order besides number one. The last one that I'll hit is my favorite so far. So I'm just gonna go through it and just do it that way. And the last one that I mentioned is obviously going to be my favorite. The first two that I have is King and Dom by S.J. Tilly. This is a part of, I believe it's called the Alliance series. And I'm not going to lie, it is a mafia romance. Not all of them are marriage of convenience, but they are all age gap. I believe King not as much, but I'm pretty positive there's still an age gap there. They're really good. The first one follows Nero and Peyton, and then King is Nero's friend. So King marries, I cannot remember her name. Anyways, just to kind of give you a little bit about what the book is about, she finds out that she's also dating King's sister's husband. I believe they're married. And so King goes and I guess gets rid of him is the best way I know how to describe it. God, what is her name? Savannah. Savannah, the witness to her murder, and King, the killer who kidnaps her. Other characters include King's friend, co-leader Nero, and King's rival Dom. We'll get back to Dom. Okay, I was like, why can I not remember her name? I'm also gonna have to look up the female main character of the Dom book. But anyways, so he kidnaps her, and of course they get married. I'm not gonna lie, it's a struggle, and it's probably my least favorite in the Alliance series, but I still think it's a 4 star read. Honestly, this is one of my favorite series of all time, so I think all of them are worth it. But I do think that you need to read that one to go into the next one, which is Dom by S.J. Tilly. And Dom is actually King and Nero's um I guess like arch nemesis. I don't know. They don't like each other. And Dom actually ends up marrying King's sister, but she does not know that they are not friends. So she brings him over and it kind of just goes from there. I don't want to give away too much for a spoiler, but I do think that it's really good. All of that happens within like the first 15% of the book. So like it goes from there, but those are really good. And then it goes into the next book, which is probably my favorite book. So I definitely think that if you're wanting a marriage of convenience that also has a mafia twist to it, this will be right up your alley. I'm actually just going to keep going with the mafia vibes. Next up is probably also one of my favorites of all time. I have two in the same series of this one too. I guess you could kind of say they're in the same series. The first one is Sparrow by L.J. Shin. This follows Troy and Sparrow, and they have, I guess it would technically not be a marriage of convenience, it's an arranged marriage. She's 19, he's in his late 20s, early 30s, so it's also another age gap. And she was told that she would marry him since she was 9 years old, and she didn't want to. So as she grew up, they never really even associated with each other until the day of their marriage. And then they get married. She kind of has trouble with his ex. There's a lot of mafia stuff going on. I just think that this is a really good book. I loved the characters, and this is some of like the best mafia world and interconnected series that I've ever read. I love all of them. I talk about The Monster by LJ Shin all the time, and it actually, the main character in that is Troy and Sparrow's son. So I've just always been in love with this series since the moment I read it. It's been one of my favorites. I reread it every year, and it just keeps getting better and better the more I read it. So to balance off of Sparrow, there's The Villain by LJ Shin. This is actually when I was doing this list in order from like least to favorite, which went terribly. This was what I put in my top three. So I'd still say it's probably in like my top five marriage of convenience books ever. And this actually follows Killian and God, I can't remember her name either. It doesn't matter. It follows them, and they're not related to Troy and Sparrow, but it does kind of, if you keep reading the series, they do interconnect with each other. And so they're in like the same circle. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot her name. Her name's Persephone. It's like a Hades Persephone retelling. So I was like, how did I even forget her name? Okay, so she ends up marrying this man. She tells Killian that she loves him, and he's like, I want nothing to do with you. Kind of tears her down. I'm not gonna lie. He is a rough male main character. You have to go in knowing that because he is not all rainbow and sunshine. He takes Black Cat, no main character, to the next level. But I personally really like that. You know that the worse they are in the beginning, the harder they grovel. And I think this one's so good. So Persephone tells him that. He's like, no. So then she ends up marrying this other man. This other man gets her into a lot of trouble. And so she goes to all the people in her friend group, which are super rich, and she's like, I really, really need help out of this situation. And none of them offer her help, or I mean, I guess they would, but I guess Killian's the first one to offer her this like opportunity, and he says, "I'll give you the money, I'll clear off your debt, I'll give you protection if you marry me." And she's like, "Okay, I've been in love with you forever. Of course I'll marry you." But then it comes with a lot of rules and stipulations and stuff that he does to try to push her away. But obviously, since it's on my list, that does not work. So without giving too much away, if you think that you'd like another Mafia one, that's a good one for you. That's probably one of my favorite series of all time. I'm just going to keep going with it. Next, I have The Devil's Bargain by Karen Hart. I love Karen Hart's books. Some of them I like more than others. Some of them I don't think are a guaranteed happy ever after. I mean, I guess in their own way they are, but some of them I'm like, I didn't see that coming. So that kind of like threw me for a loop. A bunch of her books are a little shocking to that, like unexpected twist at the end, but I think that adds to it. That's not something you really see in a lot of romance books. So I'm actually gonna read you the plot of this. Okay, I did actually, I knew that there was more books in this series, but I didn't realize that they were all out. But they are all out, all five of them, it looks like. So I'm definitely gonna have to go back and read those because I thought this one was really good for Marriage of Convenience. They say the devil doesn't bargain. I'm here to tell you that he does, but sometimes the price is still way too high. I'm in trouble, deep, deep trouble. I never meant for it to happen, but my ex is dead and I'm the one who pulled the trigger. Whether he deserved it or not, whether anyone will even miss that jerk, it doesn't matter. Joey is dead and I have to figure out what to do before I get caught with a corpse on my hand. Enter Lincoln Cruz. After the way we ended, I swore I would never turn to him again. But when we were kids then, and then 15 years since I've seen him, he's gone from a scrappy fighter to one of the most powerful men in Springfield's seedy underbelly. If there's anyone who can help me right now, it's Link. With his power, his money, and connections, I could put this all behind me. and all he wants in exchange is my soul and my hand. Hank says she's the one that got away, the reason I built my empire, and the only person I'd burn the whole entire world down for. I've done things I'm not proud of. They say the road is hell is paved with good intentions, and that's my life story right there. I wanted to show her that I could be the man she wants, the man she deserves, and by doing so, I became the worst thing for her. I always kept my eye on her. If I can't have her, I could at least keep her safe, right? Wrong. She nearly got hurt, and it's all my fault. When she comes to me, she has no idea that I'm responsible. I'm not about to tell her either. This is my second chance, my do over. Ava is mine, and no matter what I have to do to keep her, I will, even if I have to force her to marry me in exchange for my protection. But who will protect her from me? I honestly kind of forgot that this was second chance, but I actually really like this second chance. Second chance isn't always for me just because I don't know, it's like I don't know. Sometimes I find them a little annoying, especially I feel like with a lot of second chance, 99% of the time it's just a miscommunication trope. I like the miscommunication trope, but for it to like go on as long as it has for it to need to be a second chance book, that's kind of annoying. But this one, I feel like there's no miscommunication. It's very clear why they broke up. She knew why they broke up. He knew why they broke up, but now he's taking his opportunity to get her back. So I really like that. As far as second chance goes, I think that that sets it apart from other second chance romances, of course, with the Marriage of Convenience. And this mafia world is a lot different than any mafia world I've ever been a part of. And I also really like some side characters in it. If you read this book and you really like it, I think you should try No One Has to Know by Karen Hart, which is not a Marriage of Convenience, but is also one of my favorite books of all time. And it covers two people, Angela and Burns, which you will see in this book. And that book is so good. So just getting to see those characters in this world made this book so much better for me. I love that about interconnected series. But even if I hadn't, I'd still probably rate this in my top 10 of Marriage of Convenience books. And then this is my last Marriage of Convenience in, I guess, a mafia set top world. I'm also going to have to read this one for you because I don't want to give spoilers away. I don't want to say too much, but this is also one of my favorite series of all times. It's by Poppy St. John. I mentioned Twisted Devotions. It's a part of the Kings and Consorts. The way that these are interconnected to me is a little weird. It's kind of hard for me to figure out how they like are with each other. These are the only three books out that she has, but I think Twisted Devotion is one of my favorite books of all time. I really, really enjoyed it, and I only picked it up like a few months ago. I mentioned it in my last video, and it's close to Halloween, so if you're still looking for some good Halloween reads, I highly recommend that, even though it's not Marriage of Convenience. But if you like that first book, the second one is a part of the series. I don't think you have to read I would not say that you have to read the first one to understand the second one at all. But if you like doing that like I do, and you really like the first one, I think you'll like this one. So, this one is called Sinful Temptation, and it's also by Poppy St. John, and it says, I've been forced into an arranged marriage with the heir of the Italian mafia. My brother made it clear. Either I marry him or he'll make me wish I was dead. I knew what was expected of me. Put a smile, sit pretty, say nothing. What I didn't expect was him, my fiance's father. 25 years older, forbidden, and the only man who's ever seen me. Enzo says, it should have been a simple arrangement, but she ruined it. Ruined me. Nina was the prettiest thing I've ever seen. Strong, intelligent, I'm not going to read that next part. And my son's fiance. I never wanted anything more. To my credit, I tried to resist her, but when her safety is threatened, I snap. My son can't have her because no one touches what's mine. Sinful Temptations is a standalone age gap forbidden romance and has content that may be triggers to some readers. For a full list of trigger warnings, please check the author's website. I agree with that. I think before you go into this, if you are the type of person, I'm going to be honest, personally, I don't read the trigger warnings. I don't have that many triggers, so I just go in blind. But if that's something that you're into, I would highly recommend before you read this book because there are some things that could be like, wow. Um, but overall, I thought it was really good. It is a twist on the Marriage of Convenience books that I've always recommended because everything else on this list, the people that they get in the marriage with, is the person that they end up with, female main character, male main characters. But in this one, it's the arranged fiance's dad. And so I don't know. I just think it's a fun twist, and I really liked how this story was written. I really liked Poppy St. John's writing throughout all three of the stories, even though the first one was my favorite. So I'm really excited to see what she does next, and hopefully she'll continue this series because there were a lot of side characters as the series goes on that I think would be really, really good to read about. Now to get into some different types of books. The other one that I have is actually called, I believe this is how you pronounce it. It's how I've been reading it, but it's the Windsor series by Katharina Mara. I really like this series as far as Marriage of Convenience goes because it follows, I believe it is six siblings. I think it's six. I think I'm I think it's six and I don't think I'm missing one. And actually every part of this series is Marriage of Convenience. My favorite actually okay, sorry, not Marriage of Convenience, Arranged Marriage. I kind of consider them in the same world. Like when I talk about Marriage of Convenience and Arranged Marriage, I'm like, "Ah, it's the same." So like take that with a grain of salt. I think that this is the only one that was like really no, Sparrow was also arranged marriage. But I think those are the only ones that were like arranged. I really like this one. My favorite one is The Wrong Bride, and it follows Aries and a Raven. And Aries is actually dating Raven's sister, and then she does not show up to the wedding. So Raven actually ends up marrying Aries. And it's a really tough battle for them, but it's probably one of my favorite books of all time. I think I've read every single one of Katharina Mara's books. And these are some of my favorites. I will say that she has a list, if you like these books, on her website that shows you the reading order of every single one of her books, and every single one of her books tie together with each of her other books. And it's almost like what other people, I've personally never read Rena Kent, but it's kind of how I'd imagine that, of this huge universe that just keeps getting bigger and bigger, but they're all connected in some way. And it's really cool to see how she's doing that. And I'm actually excited because her next book is actually going to be a fantasy book, which she's never done before, but it's going to be the book that one of the female main characters in this series really likes. So I'm excited to see how she pulls that to life and what her fantasies would look like. If you're looking for a full series, this is the one for you. It's so good. And I honestly liked every single one of them. Some I liked more than others, but I did like every single one of them. Next up, I actually have a supernatural one, and it is Blackmailing Belle by Holly Roberts. This book is retelling of the Beauty and the Beast. He is actually the Beast. He is a supernatural creature. Actually, this whole series follows different ones. My favorite one in the series is Chasing Goldie, which is Goldilocks and the Big Bad Bears. Um, I think this one is really good, and it really took a twist on the story of Beauty and the Beast and everything about it. I actually really liked all the main characters. At first, I was like, this doesn't feel as good as the other ones, but the more and more I read it, the more in love with the characters I felt. Um, it's kind of hard to tell you without giving it away, so I'm also going to read this one. The Beast doesn't ask for beauty, he demands obedience. There's nothing worse than a customer who sneers at your romance only bookstore, calls your favorite genre trash, and still expects a refund for wrinkled paperback they've clearly read. Or so I thought. Turns out being dragged to a mansion by the Beast of Boston, a terrifying werebeast and notorious mafia boss, is far worse. Dominique Blackwell isn't the stuff of fairy tales. He's ruthless, scarred, and deals in curses that destroy lives. Now, thanks to my dad's questionable choices, I'm stuck in the middle of this dangerous world. His terms are clear: marry him, or my dad suffers the consequences. Dominique has no pact to call his own, and his fractured form leaves him tapered between man and beast. Our proximity sparks between Primal and him, and something I'd rather not name in myself. He says I'm perfect for him, curves and all. I say he's out of his mind. With my life turned into a dark romance I never signed up for, I'll need more than my sharp tongue and book smarts to survive this arrangement. Because in Dominique's world, the line between captor and husband is razor thin, and falling for the beast may cost me everything. This spicy's enemies to lovers fairy tale retelling will have you crawling for more. And with a morally gray alpha, forced proximity, and a romance as sharp as his claws. I also forgot that he was in the mafia, so I guess this falls again in the mafia trope. I honestly forgot that, but yeah, that's a big reason of why he needs her. why he picks her along with her dad. And I think that's a really good twist to it as well, especially because in this series you hadn't really seen something like that. Um, it's kind of where monsters, and I don't want to say monsters, but like mystical creatures and humans live alike. So a bunch of people know that these people are out there. She is a human. So I really like that twist of the story. And I do think that is a really good retelling, and I love a good retelling. I love a good Disney or just any retelling. I love a retelling of an older story or like a Disney princess love story. Now we're down to our top two, and number two is one that I feel like I mention all the time, so I'm not going to go too much into it. And it is My Dark Romeo by L.J. Shin and Parker S. Huntington. I did not realize how many arranged marriages L.J. Shinro until I started this list, but I actually think she just came out with like three more that I haven't read, and so I'm like, dang, this is really like her target audience knows what they like. So this one follows Romeo and Dallas is actually arranged to marry another man. Romeo does not like Madison, so he goes in and steals Dallas. And when Dallas moves in, she is very bubbly and full of life, and Romeo is very hard around the edges. But slowly, she just starts chipping away at his exterior. I do think that this is a great Romeo and Juliet retelling, and I think Dallas is funny. I do know that when I read a lot of reviews, people are not the biggest fans of her, but I think Dallas is a hoot, and I think that this is one of my favorite books. I think that this is a book that almost anybody can at least enjoy a little bit. So whenever my friends are like, "Okay, I want a romance book. If you could recommend me any book, what would you pick?" I always almost say My Dark Romeo because I think it's something that everybody can enjoy a little bit, even if romance isn't your typical genre. Next up, we're down to my favorite Marriage of Convenience book of all times. When I rated this book, I actually rated it a 5-star book. And I think that I think my rating literally just said, actually, I'll read you my rating. My rating says, one of the best books I've ever read. I love them in every single part of this book. And I stand by that. The cover of this book looks like kind of like a Hallmark movie, but then there's this other cover. And okay, I know you're not supposed to judge a book based off its cover, but to be honest, we all do. I think that if you say that you don't, you're lying. But I think that the cover of a book can set the tone of the book. So I think that when you read this book, you need to picture this cover. And usually I do not like covers with men on them, but something about this man, oh my God, I don't know. It set the tone for the book and how I perceived the characters so much better than like a Hallmark type book that this other cover kind of gave off. I didn't like that. So I pictured it kind of more setting the theme of this type of book with that cover. I don't really know how to describe it, but I think when you read it, you will understand. I am going to read you the synopsis because I definitely don't want to mess this up. It's been so long since I've read this, but I just immediately knew when I did this, I was like, this is my favorite Marriage of Convenience. I loved this book, everything about it. I actually want to get it to put on my bookshelf, and I think I'm going to reread it now that I've brought it back up. Jack and I, we did everything backwards. The day he lured me into his office, which was also the first day he met, he proposed. You'd think a guy who looked like him, a bit cold maybe, but still striking and very unattainable, would only ask the love of his life to marry him, right? You'd think he must be madly in love. Nope. It was me, he asked, a complete stranger who had never even heard of him, a stranger who had been dumped by her fiance only weeks before. You'd think I'd laugh in his face and call him insane and a few other names, then walk away as quickly as possible. Well, I did all those things except the walking away part. It took him only minutes to talk me into a business deal. Marriage, and only days for us to officially tie the knot. Happiest day of my life, magical, pop the champagne, not. It was the worst day. Jack Hawthorne was nothing like what I'd imagined for myself. I blamed him for my lapse in judgment. I blamed his eyes, his ocean blue eyes that looked straight into mine unapologetically, and that frown on his face I had no idea I would be so fascinated with in time. It wasn't long after he said I was the biggest mistake of his life that things started to change. No, he still didn't talk much, but anyone can string a few words together. His actions spoke the loudest to me. And day after day, my heart started to get its mind of its own. One second he was no one, the next he became everything. One second he was unattainable, the next he seemed to be completely mine. One second I thought we were in love, the next it was still nothing but a lie. After all, I was Rose and he was Jack. We were doomed from the very beginning with those names. Did you expect anything else? I don't know, but I genuinely think that if you like arranged marriage and you could take one book recommendation for me, I think that Marriage for One by Ella Mays would be the book that I think that you should take from me. That if I could make anybody fall in love with the book, I would want it to be this book. I never ever hear it talked about. And it's a pretty popular book. On Goodreads, it has 103,000 reviews, but nobody, and it's pretty rated pretty good, 3.84 stars. Nobody ever, nobody, I never see anybody talk about it. I don't think I've ever met somebody who has also read this book. So if you could take one recommendation for me, and if I could wish that you could fall in love with one book, it would be this book. It's that good to me. And I honestly don't think there was a single thing that if I could change about it, I would. Okay, and I know that was kind of a short video, but I could talk on and on about Marriage of Conveniences forever. But I just thought that a top 10 would be a great way to start because I'm sure that I'm going to come back with more and more recommendations that are Marriage of Convenience, especially Mafia Marriage of Convenience, as you can see. But now that I'm planning my own marriage, I just thought this was such a fun thing to do. And I hope that you like all these books as much as I do. And you can come back and leave a comment and tell me which ones you enjoyed and which ones you didn't. And as always, thanks for watching and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like these.